I'm going to keep on talking about the Melania and Donald saga because it's funny to me. It is funny that these two are in such a loveless marriage, just grifting off each other, and that Melania is making it very clear the disdain that she has for her husband. She did so yesterday at Donald Trump's DC Grand Prix. And she also made it very clear how independent she is from Trump in a post today, a shock post today, that is feeding into a very clear narrative about the separation between these two. Now, we are going to get into it all. I want to start, though, with what happened yesterday at the DC Grand Prix. The very viral fight between Melania and Trump. Before we get into her post and what I think it means for their relationship, also it backfired and only had people attacking and mocking her. So that is hysterical to me. I love shit-talking these two. I can't help myself. So let's start with them shit-talking each other. Melania Donald Trump appeared to have tense exchange at Freedom 250 event. Donald Trump and Melania Trump made a rare public appearance together on Sunday at the Freedom 250 Grand Prix, drawing attention on social media after footage appeared to show the pair in a brief exchange inside a viewing suite. The appearance came days after the First Lady joked about public fascination with her whereabouts during a White House event amid renewed scrutiny of longtime Trump aide Natalie Harp. Video of the Trump's exchange quickly spread online, with some users speculating what the President and First Lady were saying during their conversation. Though many suggested they were arguing, the footage, filmed through glass from a distance, does not contain audible dialogue. Now, I think we can pretty much conclude that these two were fighting, given that Natalie Harp was only feet away. Melanie had a scowl on her face the whole time, and so much so that she just ended up leaving that they were definitely fighting. At present, the contents of the conversation remain unclear. In the video, the First Lady leans into the President and they appear to have sharp words. But the footage, of course online, is silent. A psychologist and author of Rethinking Body Language told Newsweek that it is not possible to reliably draw anything from the footage without more details. But this hasn't stopped social media, who's made it pretty clear that, yeah, these two are fighting. The renewed attention reflects a familiar pattern around the First Lady, whose public appearances have often generated outside interest. Compared with previous administrations, Melania has repeatedly maintained a lower public profile than many modern First Ladies, choosing to make selective appearances at official events rather than joining the President at any public engagement. Now we know why Melania makes some few and far between appearances. It's because her husband isn't always willing to pay her fee. As we talked about yesterday on my Sunday show, with my Diss Touch on Sunday, which has, by the way, made a little bit of news, the clip of Sarah Matthews, a former Trump administration official who resigned after January 6th, saying that it's well known Melania gets paid and that she rarely ever shows up in the White House and doesn't like to be there. But Melania is, and I know this sounds ridiculous given how stupid and awful her image is, very cognizant of her image, which is why a former aide said this that I think plays directly into her post today that just backfired.
Thinking something might be coming or something like that. When you worked for her, how focused is she on herself, her own legacy and brand separate from her husband, making sure that she has a legacy that she has a hand in creating?
Oh, I mean, absolutely 100% that is her focus. I would say aside from being a mom, that would be what she worried about was, again, her brand, her reputation, separate from her husband, separate from anything that the West Wing would do. When I was in the East Wing, we never gave the West Wing a heads up on anything we were going to do. I've got to say, it was kind of an empowering thing. It was the first time in history, I think, that's ever been done. We did not check with the West Wing. We never told the West Wing anything. And I see she's doing the same thing. When she feels really strongly about something, she decides to speak out, and that has nothing to do with how it will reflect on her husband politically or otherwise, or the West Wing. So she's always been that way, very strong, very independent. And if somebody is saying something about her that she, feels is untrue, knows to be untrue, you better believe she'll speak out.
Now, We've talked extensively about the reporting on Melania kind of going rogue in the White House a little bit, and how Trump's aides are afraid of what she might do. That video, of course, came that interview from MSNBC with Stephanie Grisham, former, Melania aide. It came after Melania's big Epstein press conference. And I think everyone in Trump world is worried, will there be another? Will it be about Natalie Harp? Will it be about Melania's new TV show? Will it be about the files? Again, who knows? All we know is Melania is doing her own thing and it's blowing up in her face. So, Melania Trump trying to tamp down the noise around Natalie Harp and of course her husband, her hating each other, decided that today was the best time for her to put out this post. Our mission is simple yet transformational. Provide every young person from the foster care community the chance to earn a college education, launch a meaningful career, and achieve lasting financial independence. Melania is quoting herself from 4 days ago. Although I don't really know what Melania does for children be best. Just grammatically incorrect. Like, when Melania speaks, it's a nonsense program. It hasn't done anything. This post also just comes at a weird time. Melania clearly trying to move the headlines away from her and Trump fighting from her being paid. But how was the reception to this post? Well, let's take a look. One Twitter user responded with a photo of Natalie Harp carrying way too many devices. As always, she says, "Meet Natalie Harp. She will be playing Melania for seasons 3 and 4. Another Twitter user chimed in, said, "What about the children your husband abused as an Epstein co-conspirator? Yeah, Melania, you are around that. You try to distance yourself from the files, hasn't really worked. But when are you going to talk about those children? When are you going to talk about those kids? Because I don't really think you have. But good luck on trying to distract us." I will not be distracted with Melania doing a little look over there exercise, saying, "Oh, my husband, he and I, we care about the children. Me and husband, we want to protect the children." You don't. You don't care. Your husband's an abuser and a pedo, and you are an accomplice to it all. Melania is a bad person, and I've talked about this extensively. But I'm going to say it again and again. My free game to Democrats is go after these people. Right? And any Democrat who's a little too queasy, a little too, "Oh, I'm not sure we should go after Melania." Don't be a fucking pussy. Sorry for the language. It's true though, like, don't be a coward. Why would you not go after Melania? She's a grifter. She's used the power of the presidency to make herself millions of dollars. And by make, I mean steal. This is the most important part of this conversation, and we're talking about the first family. Donald Trump is always trying to pretend as if the grifting and the corruption in this White House is a victimless crime. How many millions and billions of dollars do we not have from Jeff Bezos and Amazon? The taxes that he and his company did not pay because they gave Melania a little check because they made Melania a movie. Like, how much money is the US government missing out on you and I? We deserve those tax dollars from Jeff Bezos. We are not skimping out, right? You're paying your taxes. You can't give Donald Trump and his wife a check to avoid having to pay. No, but Jeff Bezos can. We are the victims of Melania's crime. It is the same thing with Don Jr. and Eric Trump and Ivanka and Jared Kushner. We are at war right now because it is profitable to them. We are at war right now so that Don Jr. can get his DOD contracts we're spending. What's the next budget gonna be? $1.5 trillion at the Pentagon. You want to talk about the waste, fraud, and abuse that this government, this Trump administration, this regime didn't go after a lot of. It's in the Pentagon, a bloated budget that doesn't protect our troops or protect our veterans. Take a look at the USS Liberty, sorry, not the USS Liberty, the USS Abraham Lincoln. To take a look at that vessel and tell me if that 1.5 trillion is serving our troops. Donald Trump cut VA benefits. We think Republicans who voted against the PAC Act, you think those people really care about our veterans? No, of course not. So these aren't victimless crimes. There are victims of these crimes. And we are the victims of these crimes. So my free game to Democrats, go after the Trump family. It's high profile. People hate corruption. It's the story of this administration, and it'll show that you have some balls. Like it'll show that you're tough and that you're gritty and that you're willing to just root out the corruption. Like that's free game for Democrats because if we're willing to talk about it, we should be willing to go after it. Like if Adam Schiff can say this, and I'm glad he did on the Senate floor, he should be able to go after Melania too. And I'm hoping he will with the rest of the Democrats in the Senate.
For number 7, we move back to the family business. You may have seen the trailers. Amazon struck a $40 million deal with First Lady Melania Trump for a documentary about her life before and during her time in the White House. Reports indicate that Melania's team shopped the project to several studios and executives, many of whom had attended Trump's inauguration before Amazon closed the deal. And Amazon separately contributed another $1 million to Trump's inaugural fund. Of the $40 million, though, the First Lady personally received $28 million. The big-time theatrical run of this film brought in only $16 million at the box office, landing it at a sweet number 68 on the 2026 releases, behind Bunny, behind Guru, and behind mobile sweet Gundam Hathaway, the sorcery of Nymph Cersei. Bear in mind, the Melania movie was so bad that one reviewer at Variety said that if you saw it on a plane, you would still walk out. But Amazon paid the Trump family $40 million for it. Why? Because Amazon has huge contracts at stake worth billions of dollars. What is a $40 million payment for Melania when you want a federal cloud computing contract worth 100 times that much, worth billions? So while families across the country are wrestling with the skyrocketing price of groceries, the First Lady is collecting $28 million for a documentary about herself. But more important, we end up paying Amazon billions in government contracts, when Amazon may or may not be the best deal for the American taxpayer, when the amount of the contract may or may not be competitive with other companies, when Amazon may or may not be the best competitor in the bidding process. We may never know if taxpayers are getting ripped off and whether the true cost of the Melania film was a bad deal for the country, costing taxpayers billions of dollars on cloud computing that we didn't need to spend. This kind of corrupt contracting, whether taxpayer funds are wasted because of a backroom deal or a kickback, is common in developing countries.
Once again, Melania's grifting is not a victimless crime. It is not. And so she should be held accountable. Democrats should make the prosecution of the corruption of the Trump family the #1 issue after they retake the House. In the Senate, it is the biggest layup possible. It is media attention. Donald Trump will lose his mind, and it'll tell a story of corruption that Democrats need to be running against. Senator Ossoff always says, our politics must stop being coin-operated, which is how it is right now. So Melania's little post isn't going to work to solve that. She can't be best her way out of the corruption or the Natalie Harp story or the fights with her husband. Yeah, we're going to call it all out on this show. And if you want to support that, as always, you can hit that subscribe button, leave a like on this video. If you stuck around at the end, drop a blue heart in the comments. Keep on fighting, y'all. Don't let them silence you. And until next time, I'll see you soon.